Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, or Doctor Strange in the Multitudes of Mayhem, or Doctor Strange in the Memes of Morbius. Maybe not that one. But yeah, I want to talk about this film, and like I normally do when stuff is still out in theatres, or like this has only just come out on home platforms, I'm going to give general ideas, nothing too spoilery early on, so that if you haven't seen it and you don't want to be treated like a lot of outlets there who just assume that as soon as it's out everyone's seen it, mini rant over, then you can still get an opinion. This was written by Michael Waldron and directed by Sam Raimi, which gave me so much joy. It stars Benadryl Cumberbund, I'm never going to say his name right, Xochitl Gomez, Benedict Wong, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Rachel McAdams, a whole bunch of people that would be spoilery, so I'm not going to. I mostly enjoyed this. I will qualify that in a bit, but I have wanted this kind of film for a long while. I mean, like I say, I was absolutely overjoyed when Sam Raimi was connected to it. I was like, this is great. You want to do the weird Kirby visuals brought to life. You want to do something that's a bit unsettling and weird. Bring in someone like a horror director. Bring in someone like Sam Raimi, in fact, because he also does comedy really well. He also does superhero stuff well, because he's done it in the past. So that was great to me. Obviously, a lot of these actors in it have been in it before, and we know they can do these characters well. Some people have an issue with Benedict Cumberbatch's accent. As a non-American, I think it's fine. It's certainly not Asa Butterfield in Choose or Die. Nothing's quite that bad, though. Whilst I didn't find an issue with it initially, I think it has improved over time. Practice does normally improve skills. The plot of this was also interesting. It's, now we've opened up the idea of the multiverse. Lean into it. Let's do that. Let's do some weirder stuff. And I like the fact that the TV side, or the streaming side, the Disney Plus side of things, is dealing a lot more with the grounded, mostly. It's doing a lot more of the normal side of things. This is where it can go really big and crazy because the budgets will be bigger for the films. But like I say, it wasn't as enjoyable as I'd want it to be, unfortunately. I think we're at the point where the Marvel formula is getting a little boring. It's getting a little overused. We're now used to how a Marvel movie plays out, and whilst this didn't quite do the usual, it still felt close enough to the usual to leave you with that idea. I mean, this film isn't bad, I'm not saying that at all. It's not too long either, it's just over 2 hours, and I didn't feel like my attention was going away every so often on A Flight of Fancy. It kept my interest, but I just knew roughly certain beats that it was going to hit on the way. And maybe we need more change of directors. I think the only thing that kept this from being more stale could have been the fact that we had a horror director. And yeah, okay, we're getting into the stuff that I really enjoy. I think that's one of the weird downsides of this. The stuff that I really like is these Jack Kirby style illustrations come to life, like I said before. These weird worlds, the multiverses, all that kind of things, dimensions folding on themselves. All that stuff is gorgeous to me. I love it. But we needed setup to ground the world first before we could go really into the fantastical. So those of us who have lived for that, who have waited for that moment, have had to sit through 20 plus films, occasionally delving into weird things, but mostly being quite, okay, that would make sense. That's possible. That's scientifically logical. So when we've got to this point, we've got to a point of, I've seen a lot of stuff before, so only the weird stuff is what is keeping us going. Now, like I say, maybe different directors who are not versed in, comedy so much, or not versed in superhero films quite so much, maybe they'd bring something different to the table. But I really hope that that can happen. I really hope that we're not going to come to a place of boredom, because I'm excited for Thor: Love and Thunder. I like the idea of that. I want to see Christian Bale as Gore the God Butcher. I want to see all of this, but I've got a feeling that I know exactly how it's going to go. It's why I don't do replays of games, in a way. I know how it's going to go, so I don't want to play the story 50,000 times. There are exceptions to this. Normally they're sandbox experiences, so I can kind of do a lot of messing around and then Right, I'll finish off the main story again, whatever. But I don't have to do that. So Marvel needs to do something to shake this up, I think. Before I get into spoilery stuff, I do quickly want to say Danny Elfman once again hits it out of the park. There are moments of this where I forgot it was Elfman because he's moved away from that weird I'm working with Burton style that he became known for, and it's got a lot more sort of traditional style and superhero-y style, I guess, under his belt now that he's brought in. But then there are moments, the little flourishes and things like that, that you're like, this is Elfman. And yeah, I thought that this carried the film's themes and emotionality brilliantly, and suited some of the creepier moments as well, because that's what he's good at. He's really good at those things. So yeah, the quick encapsulating thought at the end before the spoilers. If you've already spent the time watching all of these and you're interested in these characters, this world, this multiverse, all this weird stuff, you're going to watch it anyway, no matter what I say. If you've not got the backing of all that stuff, unfortunately you might not get so much out of it. If you're just maybe a big Sam Raimi fan, you're going to come into this slightly confused by a lot of things, unfortunately. But you may still enjoy it. I can only speak from the experience of someone who's been along the journey. But I think you need to, unfortunately, have sat through all of this so far to get the enjoyment out of it, but you will enjoy it. So now into the few little spoiler bits. It's not going to be tons. I'm not going to go into too much detail. I did like the development of Scarlet Witch's character. The thing with the trailers where it's like, is she being set up to be the villain, but then the assumption that maybe they'd actually team up, I thought was possible. I thought that they may team up at some point, especially the shot in the temple, or what we find out is Wundagore. Sort of in one part of the trailer, I thought maybe they were fighting off those beasts, but no, she is the villain of this. But it's one of the things I didn't like about this, because I feel we've already had this story in WandaVision, and this references WandaVision, so it's saying, yes, we know that exists. It's assuming you've seen it, because the whole thing with the kids is from WandaVision. Now, you could argue the Darkhold getting its tendrils in her mind, if you will, is what made her go to such a bad place and sort of repeat herself in a way. She grieved over Vision in the wrong way and caused a bad thing to happen. She grieved over the loss of the kids that were seemingly created for that process of grieving for Vision, and then reacted in the wrong way. Like I say, it just feels a little repetitive. That was one of the things that took me out of it a little. I was like, we've done this before. I did like the fact that she was the villain throughout, though, and I like the fact that it was actually her sending things like the thing that can't be called what it actually is, and I believe it's called Gigantos or something for this. I loved America Chavez's powers and things like that. Great. All fun. But of course, the elephant in the room, and the one thing that I really can't discuss in the non-spoilery bits, is the Illuminati. Now, I watched a load of videos beforehand sort of saying, oh, this could be Captain Carter, this could be this person, this could be this, etc. And every single member of that team, I was like, yes, I'm so happy. Haley Atwell back in any role as Peggy Carter, I'm here for it. Love it. Chef's kiss. Brilliant. Seeing and hearing Charles Xavier himself, Patrick Stewart again, loved it. And the fact that he was in the X-Men series style chair, and they even played the X-Men cartoon theme a little. I loved that. I love the fact that we have I don't know if it's almost like an acknowledgement, yes, the Inhumans happen because it's Anson Mount, but it's kind of saying this is how we should have done it. Because remember, these are from a different universe anyway. So this is someone else's Black Bolt. It doesn't have to be ours. So we could still get Anson Mount in that role. Unfortunately, we're not going to see Anson Mount in that role again, are we? Because his voice was mind-blowing, you might say. That annoyed me. I like the fact that the theories were right. This was a different Captain Marvel, and in fact, not a member of the Rambo family who normally takes on this moniker. So I was quite impressed with that, and that wasn't meant to be a pun about the other Rambo moniker. And of course, the big one that was almost like a stunt casting, it felt like, John Krasinski as Reed Richards. It's something people have been asking for years. But this whole thing with the Illuminati and their subsequent demise, it almost felt like Marvel saying, stop asking us to put these characters in, because this is what we're going to do with them. It felt very much like a middle finger to the fans who just, we all stunt cast for things that we know is coming. We're all like, oh, that person would be great in that role. Now, with the Anson Mount connection, this does mean we could get a John Krasinski Reed Richards from the main 616 universe, as they've now confirmed, or a different one that come in. We could have this. We could have a different Charles Xavier. We could have a different whoever. All of these people could come back as versions of these characters, because I don't believe this is Captain Carter from What If. I do not believe that for 1 minute. This is another version. So we have all these characters, we have these cast members now, with this, like I say, middle finger, which I think was a big misstep, unless they rectify it by saying, well, we were testing the waters, and if people really responded well to that, if people really hate the fact that we did that, we're going to find a way to bring them in, really. Although the one I'm probably worried about is Patrick Stewart, because use him while we can, please. He's not a young man anymore. But yeah, I enjoyed seeing these characters played by these people. I wasn't one who was bothered about John Krasinski for Reed Richards. I know a lot of people were for years. I wasn't really behind it because I didn't know his work really until A Quiet Place. But having seen both of those and seen him here, yeah, fine. And Anson Mount, just let him be Captain Pike. If he doesn't want to do this, if he doesn't want to be Black Bolt forever, find a young one in a different universe and bring him in, whatever. I'm fine with this. Like I said in the pre-spoiler bit, you know these characters, you've been through this, you're watching to the spoiler bit, you've probably already seen it anyway. I'd say we're all in for the long haul now, and it's just finding a way to keep it from getting too stale and losing all of our faith and never seeing a good superhero flick ever again, because they're all the same. At least it didn't quite do the same versus same ending. It was sort of there, but not quite in the normal way that we've seen, so not entirely hopeful for that one, but I don't know, a little bit of a hope. But yeah, that's all I want to say about Doctor Strange in the Mom. It's quicker, less syllables. Well, that sounds really wrong now. But thank you very much for allowing me to talk about that, as always, and until next time, take care.